Stick 'em up, cowboy.
Oh, what was that?
I don't know, it feels like I just got hit with a brick.
Oh, must have been the wind.
It's like a meridian of blood.
Oh,
Blood meridian. Hey, I'm Joe.
And I'm Manny, and today we're going to be talking about Blood Meridian.
Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy is a book published in 1985 that delves into the trials and tribulations of a boy who was displaced and forced to survive on his own at a very young age.
The book takes place throughout the Wild West of the mid-1800s, and as we know, life was much more unforgiving at that time, especially for a kid who has to learn how to fight on his own.
Wanting nothing more but to give himself an avenue to try to get through the next day, the boy does whatever he can to survive, interacting with many people along his travels.
Eventually, he gets tied in with a bad group of men called the Glanton gang because of, well, their leader, Glanton. But we'll talk more about that later.
Yep. Though it's important to point out that this group, he ends up finding out a man called Judge Holden, prominent member of this gang.
Oh yeah, that guy.
What do you mean that guy, bro? He's literally the most important character in the book, bro. This book surrounds Judge Holden. Judge Holden. Oh gosh, you didn't have to hit me that hard. Why'd you actually hit me?
Dude, come on, it's for the book, and plus your head's pretty hittable, bro. It's senseless acts of violence like that characterize Judge Holden.
Wait, you were the one that hit me.
The judge throughout the book represents the inherent evil of the world. His constant actions that bring suffering to others and his ideology show the filth of the human side, as it seems that the judge holds no morality in the way he goes about living his life. He's here to bring chaos and war, and he believes that life through war is the only way to live it.
I mean, he says it best himself, explaining how it makes no difference what men think of war. War endures, as well as what men think of stone. War was always here before man was. War waited for him. The ultimate trade awaiting its ultimate practitioner. That is the way it was and will be. That way and not some other way.
In other words, the judge believes that war and man were meant to be, bound by fate to work alongside each other. He even characterizes war like it's a person, emphasizing his deep love of chaos and violence. War brings death, and that is exactly what the judge wants.
Exactly. And in a place like this, war seems to be all there is. From Native American tribes to groups like the Glanton gang, everyone here commits acts of violence, even in places meant to be sacred.
Nowhere is safe from violence in the world of Blood Meridian, where there are several instances of churches being completely desecrated and trashed, rather than being fountains of hope for the people. A few examples would be near the beginning, where the boy wakes up half drunk in a church where the floor was deep in dry guano and the droppings of cattle and sheep. Later on in the book, it stated how they passed through a village, then and now in ruins, and they camped in the walls of a tall mud church and burned their fallen timbers of the roof for their fire. And one more example is one of the bloodier ones, where the church was heaped with scalped and naked and partly eaten bodies of some 40 souls who barricaded themselves in this house of God against the heathen.
And that's why the judge fits perfectly in this world. This world shows no mercy, and a man like him,
with no moral compass,
is bound to thrive in a land ridden with crime and death.
He believes that war is the natural state of mankind.
We've also failed to mention that war isn't just wreaking havoc and violence, it's also the ideologies that plague the minds of the people.
The judge is racist. He made that very clear. He views some people as inferior to him, some more than others. In chapter 9, the gang arrives to a compound where some squatters live. A small boy could also be found inside the compound who does not speak, which the judge analyzes. He views him as a Mexican or half-breed boy, maybe 12 years old. The next day, the squatters found the boy lying dead on the ground. One can safely assume that the judge was the one that killed the boy that night while the others slept. He did not view the boy as someone who deserved to live the rest of his life, so he believed he was the one in charge of choosing his fate.
But man, Judge Holden is racist. How come he rides along African Americans and Native Americans?
Good question, Joe. Essentially, the judge believes that he is the one who shall choose who gets to live and dies, hence why he is called the judge. He thinks that no one can live autonomously without his permission. I mean, it's even in the smallest things, like when he was routing small life from the folds of his hairless skin. He gets rid of any life he does not feel suited to live in his eyes. So to answer your question, Joe, he views the people of color in the gang as simple pawns in his ultimate ideal view of the world. They also commit atrocities alongside of him, so he believes that he can let them live, though they should know that he can also rout them out whenever.
So, at the end of the day, the judge basically checks off everything of what makes a man evil.
Yeah, so he's a perfect representation of the dark side of humanity. What would happen if we didn't have any order or morals?
He is evil.
Yeah, that's what I said, bro.
Evil, evil, evil.
They don't want to do this again. Jeez, Joe, you got quick hands, man.
You know, man, bro, you brought this on yourself. I had to take a page out of Judge Holden's book and just pluck you off.
Well, I'm not too sure about that one, actually. He's a pretty bad guy.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I mean, imagine if everyone acted like him. It would suck.
I mean, you don't say, dude. You're talking about a pure evil running around everywhere.
And that also means that everyone will be subject to viewing some pretty gnarly things.
The kid is no exception to this, being forced to view murders, massacres, and the relentless cruelty of humanity.
Yeah, and the more time that goes on, and the more he begins to realize that surviving means making impossible choices, even if that requires him to cross a very foggy line between what is good and what is evil.
It doesn't help at all that throughout the way, the judge sits there trying to transmit his views to the kid, basically telling him, just lose your morals, it's going to be fun, and also, war's God.
Great advice, man. Great advice.
I'm not too sure about that, bro.
Anyways, despite losing any ounce of pure sunshine and rainbows view of the world, the kid still resists against submitting to the views of Judge Holden. He rather sees Judge Holden for who he really is, a monster in human skin.
And just like we mentioned before, the judge picks and chooses who gets to live or die. And because the kid doesn't succumb to that darkness, he views the kid as an enemy.
But despite all that, the kid is no longer the kid. He is now the man. This name change coming near the ending, a long time after the kid's time with the gang. This name change represents that the kid has gone through many, many things that made him mature at a faster rate than that of any other man. He doesn't view the world in the same way and has no way of seeing innocence anymore. He has changed, and it's all because of the things he saw in the world of blood, Meridian.
The judge makes an appearance at the end of the book.
Oh, God.
Without spoiling much, the judge dances in light and in shadows, and he is a great favorite. He never sleeps, the judge. He is dancing, dancing, and he says that he will never die.
Yeah?
And he's naked.
Okay.
But the judge saying that he will never die represents that evil, true inherent evil, will never die. It will stay within us and our society, and all that stuff, violence, lying, hatred, it never goes away.
I hate to say it, it's a sad reality, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, bro.
Shut up, dude.
And on top of that, in a world like Blood Meridian, those who are trying to resist evil just get swallowed up, just like the boy who lost so much in life. The boy lost his innocence and he tried to stand up for himself, but his redemption was too far gone at that point.
But the thing is, he tried, and that's what matters. Just like you, Joe. You still try in class even though you suck.
I'm about to show you some senseless acts of violence, bro.
You know what, guys? I better get going. Make sure you like, comment, maybe even subscribe. Until next time, goodbye.
To the town of Alfrea rode a stranger one fine day. Hardly spoke to folks around him, didn't have too much to say. No one dared to ask his business, no one dared to make a slip. The stranger there among them had a big iron on his hip. Big iron.